right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center. Welcome to the Wanda Coleman Theater. My name is Quentin Ring. I am Beyond Baroque's executive director, and we are very excited tonight to be hosting the second installment of The Golden Mean, which is a new reading series bringing poets from USC's PhD program in creative writing and literature to Beyond Baroque, along with poets from the wider community. This series was founded and curated by L.A. Johnson, who's here with us tonight. We'll be hosting in just a second. Give it up for Liz. Yes. Am I supposed to say Liz or L.A. from the stage? I'm not sure which. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. But before we get started, I did want to say a few words about Beyond Baroque. We do like to begin by acknowledging our presence here on Tongva land. Beyond Baroque acknowledges the wrong done to indigenous people through settler colonialism, genocidal practices, and the violent dispossession of their land. And as an arts organization, we are committed to uplifting indigenous writers, their narratives, and their art. To say a few more words about Beyond Baroque, especially for those of you who are new to the space, we are Los Angeles' oldest literary center. We are dedicated to nurturing the artistic possibilities of language. That principally means nurturing poets. We're very invested in poetry. And we've done that in a variety of ways. We have a Wednesday night poetry workshop, which has been running every Wednesday since 1969. A very large number of LA's better-known poets and other artists have gone through that workshop, including Wanda Coleman, who this theater is named after, many, many others. We have a Monday night fiction workshop as well every Monday. Those are both free. We have a variety of individual master classes that happen on Saturdays, Sundays. Sometimes we have multi-week classes, mostly in poetry, but also covering the literary arts more broadly. We also have a reading performance series right here in this theater every weekend. We have about 100 events a year, so we keep very busy. Again, mostly readings, but also panels, talks. We also have some music, we have some film, we have some dance, and all kinds of other things as well. Just to give you a little bit of heads up about some upcoming programs, next Friday, I believe, Friday the 23rd, we'll be hosting a dual book launch for Amy Gersler and David Trinidad. They are both also graduates of our workshop and have been involved with Beyond Baroque for a long time. David recently moved back to LA from Chicago. He's a brilliant poet, so it's great to have him back here in LA. So that should be really wonderful reading. We also have on June 7th book launch for Susan McCabe, for those of you from USC. She'll be reading with David St. John and Anna Journey, who are both here in the audience with us tonight. That should be a great reading, so please do come back for that. It's very important for me to say right now, especially, we can't do what we do without the support of our members. So we, along with many other arts organizations, had our grant from the National Endowment for the Arts terminated abruptly 2 weeks ago in an email, 4:50 on a Friday afternoon, saying that even though we're in the middle of this grant, it no longer effectuates the priorities of the current administration. So basically all arts organizations in the country right now are under attack, as are many, many other people and groups and communities. So if anybody is able to become a member, it helps keep our programming low cost or free. This program is free thanks to a very generous contribution from the USC PhD program in creative writing and literature, but we do charge for most of our programs. But if you become a member, you get into all of our events for free, or almost all of them. You get a discount on our workshops, you get a discount on the bookstore, and you help keep the space going. If you can't become a member, or if you are a member, we also have some other fundraisers coming up, including one tomorrow. We have a wine tasting here in our beautiful Poets Garden. Tickets are $75. You get a full, I think, 5 glasses of wine, 5 tastes of wine anyways, and some food, and you help support the cause as well. So if you're in the area and want to come back tomorrow, please do come back for that. And just keep an eye on these types of things, because they're really very much needed right now, and all of your support is greatly appreciated. Beyond that, I don't want to say too much other than to say please do buy our poets' books. They're in the bookstore. I'm sure they'll be willing to sign them as well after the reading. And I also just want to thank our staff, Eric Alberg, who's running things from the booth, and Genesis Perez in the bookstore, Jimmy Vega, our associate director, who's here, Yvonne Salinas, who helps put all this together. He's upstairs right now, I think. They keep the place running. I give speeches. They do stuff. It's a good arrangement. But I especially want to thank both the USC program and the PhD program in creative writing and literature for sponsoring this, and in particularly L.A. Johnson, who has done a really wonderful job curating this lineup. These are all poets I really admire. Some of them I've never heard read before, so I'm really excited about that. Other than them I know pretty well, and so it's just a thrill to be able to welcome all of you to the space and to hear some poetry. So without further ado, please welcome Liz Johnson.
Thank you all so much for coming tonight, and thank you, Quentin, and the whole Beyond Baroque team. This is such a special series for me to put together. I really have loved being a member of the community here at Beyond Baroque, and anything I can do to bring more people into this growing family here is amazing to me. So yeah, so without further ado, I'm thrilled for all of these poets. We'll start with Bryan Byrdlong, who is a Black poet from Chicago, Illinois. He received his MFA in creative writing from the Helen Zell Writers Program. He has been published in Guernica Magazine, the Kenyon Review, and Poetry Magazine. He received a 2021 Ruth, Lilly, and Dorothy Sargent Rosenberg Poetry Fellowship from the Poetry Foundation. His debut collection, Strange Flowers, was very recently published with YesYes Books, and he is currently a PhD student in creative writing at USC in Los Angeles. Welcome, Bryan.
Can everyone hear me? All right, thank you everyone for coming out. Happy to be reading here at Beyond Baroque for the first time. And with all my fellow readers, we've got a really good slate. I'm going to be reading from my collection that was recently published. There's copies in the library for sale if anyone is interested after. And yeah, just reading 5 poems today. This poem is called On Family. Claim that family is everything. Vamp, spook sitting by the front door. On Buanim grave, denizens of anti-purgatory, the excommunicated. On March 3rd, 1956, my mother's father departs Haiti, bids au revoir to Tonton Makou, but also his mother. The list of dead include his cousins unable to escape. On the orders of a president, my father wanders Kuwait in withdrawal. Fields of fescue, colorless compared to what follows him. When she heard what he was on, my aunt said, "Si bon Dieu vit," or "We are all made in God's image." Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is being sure of what we hope for. On and on, our family tree's gigantic 100-handedness. Our mother tongues grew Creole, English vernacular on one branch as Erykah Badu played in the background. On the guys, my cousin Jay dipped out the crib for the corner's hustle, the caress of a solid crew. When prison swallowed inked a bestiary on his skin, a winged animism flashing neon. Generally, my cousins Walter Dean Myers monstrous, charged when white folk cross avenues to avoid their undying. If recruited for a theomachy, no God would escape. On everything, the men in my family go where morning dew is nectar to their feet. A few were never men, the divine a spectrum granting their feminine ease. Godson, bring that photo album out the attic. Not every member has a framed picture in the living room. A shoebox labeled "Birdsong Collects Dust." An extant history waits years for admission. half sketch, half mercy. When she colors in the tattoos, it is love, not forgiveness. All right, cool. All right, this one is based off a true story, so things be going down in the suburbs, if you didn't know already. This poem is called The Deer. The algorithm took us round a whole other way, the driver said, as we pulled up to the apartment. It was my friend's birthday. I hugged her in the room with pink walls full of smiles, a pot of coffee brewing as we waited for brunch. Daydreaming, my mind flickered through my to-do list, laundry, dishes, the undead deer poem I was so excited to write. I was so excited to invoke the chronic wasting disease, echo Eocene, epoch, render a buckhead with lowered antlers, wandered aimless from a dry ravine, the bovine and vine, the rifle, a Remington Model 700, the prion protein misfold camouflaged in the prey like a hunter. Only when cooked would the venison turn the opposite of a song, a scream. But then it was time to eat and drink. The blinds were open, daylight poured in like mimosa into a glass, and we began to speak about this, that, and the other. Eventually, we got on the topic of the town. People had been feeding the deer too much, and they'd started coming around more, fearing the human touch less. Something had to be done. A few residents had already polished their guns, discussed a small cull. Some of the more liberal suggested an alternative. In the lull that followed, a man was hired to trank bulls, sterilize them beneath starlight, street lamp. How it is that a child witnessed the act at night is unclear, and yet it leered at them, how effortlessly what is internal can become apparent. It was agreed that the deer, once asleep, would be moved to a high school gym where they'd begin a new life in the home of the pioneers, a group of concerned moms raising money to buy yoga mats for them, to rest on once the procedure was done. Everybody at the party knew what a gym looked like, and yet none of us could imagine what poses they did in the dark. So this is the title poem of the book, Strange Flowers, and this poem is called Strange Flowers. And it speaks to a phenomenon that we all have probably been witness to, being a certain kind of strange flower in people's yards. In the flower beds, begonias, baby's breath, black-eyed Susans, bland, brown, this block where black lives used to live. I walk cautious as names pop out of the ground like bulbs in spring. A bizarre prismatic, a language of blues, lilacs, inferring the people in this house believe in beauty, believe in what matters. This house that makes the distinction between the flower and the weeds indiscernible. This lawn has them. This lawn doesn't. It shouldn't matter, yet the science is real. Researchers find gardening has a similar effect on happiness as dining out, biking, walking. I wonder how long these curious blossoms have before they fall to the white burial of winter snow, or if they'll emerge from earth and soil next spring, perennial, a new name added. This diversity a strength for property values. I suspect few will invite the stigma inside, by the kitchen window, in the foyer, in the bedroom, in the bed. I imagine fewer will let them rest. All right, thank you all so much. I just have one more poem to share tonight, and I'm looking forward to everyone else. This is Morning of the Living Dead, after Dinosaurs in the Hood by Dennis Smith, The Condition of Black Life is One of Mourning by Claudia Rankin, and of course, The Night of the Living Dead by George Romero. After the critically acclaimed cult classic, starring a black girl from Chicago named Chicago, her pet crow named Jim, a scene of them traveling with Queen and Ocean during day to show how mourning is different from grief. Because of grief, all allies wear black, gather in public spaces at night, despite the lumbering threat, armed men in the countryside. Cut to cityscape. Cut to monsters milling like sheep. Extended action sequence. Queen with a staff. Queen with kung fu. Ocean driving. 47 extras cast from the Potomac Gardens. Black bandana charge. Climax. Chicago bitten. Ocean injured. Red oil spill. Scene in which a black woman discovers the cure. Scene with a black woman who been found the cure. Last century, last week, last second. We want their eyes to open. Want a benediction from DC's brown mare. We want this sequel to be as good as, if not better than, the original. Want no critics saying it is unrealistic. Everyone lives. Thank you.
Those poems were so amazing, Bryan. I can't wait to read the book. Next we have James Ciano, whose debut collection of poetry, The Committee of Men, is forthcoming from Boa Editions in May of 2026. He holds an MFA from NYU and a PhD in creative writing and literature from the University of Southern California. He has received scholarships from the Vermont Studio Center and the Community of Writers, and his recent poems have appeared or are forthcoming in Blackbird, the Southern Review, the Yale Review, and many other places. He is the 2025-2027 Creative Writing Fellow in Poetry at Emory University. James.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Bryan. That was awesome. Thank you, Quentin and Liz, for having me here, and Austen, James, and Blas, and that's everyone. I can't wait to hear you. I'm going to be reading some poems from my forthcoming debut collection called The Committee of Men, and loosely it explores ideas of toxic masculinity contextualized by my experiences as a college athlete and from a family of athletes. Several of the poems I'll read share the same title as the book with a slight subtitle to them. The Committee of Men, Haze. A thick sheet all the way to the ocean turns the sun the kind of light that my mother's first cigarette of the day would turn the kitchen. 6 a.m., sitting in the ashtray. My mother at the table eating a bowl of cereal, dishes in the sink glazed where the fat hardened. Smoke that rose to the ceiling fan then blew into my bedroom, which, as I woke, had the blur of a quickly taken photo. There were no photos when Kevin asked for his mother, and no one answered. That night we were initiated as members of the soccer team. When his eyes stopped reeling like slots in his head, there was a sudden inner dynamism to his body, and then a sudden outer stillness to the basement, where his body lay motionless on the floor. Earlier, to prove our worth, we were locked in a bathroom coated with shit, then blindfolded, force-fed American cheese, vodka, and cinnamon. The mountains are gone this morning. The last downtown at the edge of the world, only a faint outline graffitied to the sky. I haven't forgotten you, Kevin. I held your face in my hands. I held your body over the trash can. Who did I want to become? Shirtless, unable to stand. The tiles brined with silt where we were waterboarded with Milwaukee's best. Stair runs with Dubra and glasses of milk, heads held in buckets of ice, then punched, then my mouth held open. What did I want to belong to? I am here in Los Angeles, where the air is difficult to breathe today. I'm on a new medication that makes my life feel weightless, a kind of floating, like I can reach anything with my hand. I know that, but in my hand, each thing already has the quality of memory, that light and inaccurate. I never said yes, but I also never said no. Did it enlarge my life to survive? Did I feel pride? What did I feel, unsure if Kevin on the floor was alive? After several minutes, he came back into his body. He asked for his mom. No one called his mom. We all laughed and smacked each other on the ass. Kevin sat up, dripping with sweat. Music was put on, and other people came, and Kevin sat. We gave him a bottle of water. We gave him a beer. This is an ekphrastic poem based off a drawing by Giacometti, and in the English is Men's Heads. The Committee of Men, Art. Among others, I was not the worst, but said things I cannot forgive to the air. When I walked with them, my body made a man-shaped hole. People who passed through the hole felt suddenly cold, like walking past the open door of a freezer. At night, I descended the unfinished steps to the basement, where bodies moved under orbs of blue light. The floor was coated with a brine, like mixed cement drying. There were no windows in the wall. Where one me ended, the next me began. No, not me, someone else, other members of the we I was a part of. They all shook like ice in a glass and looked as though they were about to breathe or would never breathe again. In the cadmium light, I was one man with many faces. Each face was me and was not. I was the face of one man, all for one and one for all. This next poem, this feels shockingly close. This next poem takes its title and a lot of its language from the Lou Reed song of the same name, Coney Island Baby. My father was and still is a high school football coach, and so it kind of uses the opening line of that song as a way into the poem. Coney Island Baby. I didn't play football for the coach, though my father coached football. I played soccer as a young man in high school. My father was a linebacker. He had a straight shadow. I stood up straight when he entered a room. I wanted to die when I was a young man in high school. I wanted to find my soul It was a funny place I stood in front of, a net. I was a keeper. My soul was a funny place that my father coached. To keep the ball from hitting the net was the meaning of my life. I didn't play football. I hit myself like a circus. I sang in the choir. Singing was a way of having a soul. It felt like stealing. When I hit myself, it felt like feeling. He laughed at what I loved. It was a funny place. I lifted weights. With his football team, he laughed like turning back a clock. I stood up straight. He had eyes like unsharpened pencils in his head. I wanted to find my soul. I looked everywhere. In him was a straight shadow. As a young man in high school, I lifted weights. I was good at it. I was good at not letting things in. It was my position. This poem, the title is shared with a song by John Mouse, and the first line of it is after a poem by Joy Katz. It's called Do Your Best. The saddest time in my life was also the worst time I had. Let me restart. The saddest time in my life was also the time I had the worst haircut and shared a wall with a man who would, each night, take hits from a tank of laughing gas. And from out of the dark apartment, a sudden gasp, then a laugh like popped bubble wrap. Nights I sat on the roof with its view of the bridge, and below the bridge's lights on the river. Nights I thought of jumping. The haircut was short on the sides and long on the top. It was cool and so unlike anything my Albanian childhood barbers could ever have done. They yelled violently into the flip phone held between their shoulder and their ear, always about the money they were losing on a laundromat in Jackson Heights. My roommate had one gold tooth and one empty space where another would go. In my room there was a lamp and, as a treat, an expensive light bulb, the kind they have at restaurants where you can see inside it. Not jumping, but more like walking, like how Wile E. Coyote, fooled by his own cutout of a road at the edge of a cliff, walks down the fake road, and in doing so walks off the cliff, takes 4 or 5 steps with complete nonchalance on pure air before the air lets him go. Jumping is something one might do off a diving board, like the one at the community pool, where I spent summers perfecting no specific style of jump, but the act itself. Not the feeling of falling, but the feeling before the feeling of falling. There were no pools during the saddest time of my life, but I did walk past a fountain every night upon exiting the subway. The fountain was lit from below, so the water wasn't water, but small balls of glass painted white on the bottom. They would shoot out of holes in the ground and arc before falling to the pavement. Each night it was quiet. Maybe it was midnight, and there were no other sounds, just the sound of the water leaving and the sound of the water returning to the ground. Between those sounds, the world stopped, and in the moments of that silence, the light of the fountain was diffuse across the parkway, as if spilling from out of a cup, as if poured. I could see then all the thoughts in my head suspended in front of me, as if from a mobile. I could leave them there and keep walking, past the Key Foods and the vape shop and the mural on the wall of the school, the one of roots growing, but the roots were all hands. I could take my hat off when I got home and feel suddenly ashamed of my hair and turn on my lamp with the light bulb I paid extra money for. I could lie awake listening to my roommate chat roulette the world in the pre-dawn blue, and watch as that blue grew fainter, like when, from the bottom of a pool, the blue turns white as you begin to approach the surface. I'll just read two more poems. The Committee of Men, Summer. We spoke into the box fan, ran through the house in our underwear. We did not swear. We were sweat and swung a yellow bat at a wiffle ball. Mom poured powdered iced tea into a purple-pink pitcher, checked her reflection in a picture in the hall. She wore a beach cover-up with two entwined flamingos on her chest. We rubbed ice on each other's necks. Cicadas clicked their consonants above the red fence. The air was alive. It was full of visible stillness. The oak in our yard serrated the light. It fell in lacerations on our faces. Mom lit a cigarette and sat in the shade where nothing grows. The water was a solid rod of quartz. She sprayed our naked bodies with a hose. This will be my last poem. It's called The Committee of Men Referendum. Thanks everyone for listening, and thanks to the other readers for sharing space. The Committee of Men Referendum. The most beautiful building in Los Angeles is a public storage tower at the corner of Beverly Boulevard and North Virgil Avenue. Each night, as the city puts on its diaphanous light, and the unreal sprawl, jagged and aglow, takes on the quality of something held up to a window, I drive past the ornate tower, heading home again to my wife after a long day of self-doubt, and wondering why the world is 90% hell, and the 10% of beauty we are offered turns the sky a devotional gold like electric candles. When I return home, I will feel her hair fall across my face and know that no one is coming to take her away. No one with a docket or a dossier. No one from the referendum on unworthiness. With these shadows of light that fall in silver dollars on her face, I am learning that happiness does not require 8 punches to the side of the head from my own hand. Who knew? Who writes the code? Who tips the scales? And why did I for so long think only an accumulation of suffering could settle the wages of the living? Thanks.
Thanks so much, James. Especially the first poem is just a knockout. Next, we have Blas Falconer, who is the author of 4 poetry collections, most recently Rara Avis, I hope I'm saying that right, from 4-Way Books in 2024. Falconer is the recipient of a poetry fellowship from the National Endowments for the Arts and a Maureen Egan Writers Exchange Award from Poets and Writers. He teaches in the MFA program at San Diego State University and is the editor-in-chief at Poetry International Online. Blas.
What an amazing reading. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'm excited to hear what comes after. Thank you to everybody who's making this happen. I was saying earlier tonight that I've been reading from this book all year. When it came out, I told myself I committed to reading for 1 academic year. And this is the last reading from the book. And I can't think of a better place to read with such terrific poets. So it's a pretty special night for me for many reasons. For a spell, you dip the end of the small plastic wand into the soapy water, hold it to your mouth and blow gently, so the iridescent film within the serrated ring trembles as it grows and grows, until you are, we are, in it, all that has ever or will ever waits outside the bubble, which floats now slowly to the ground. When a bubble floats to the ground, it means something is about to break. A spell can be broken. We say, you fall under a spell, the way we say, you fall in love. For a spell means an undefined but short period of time, as in, for a spell, we didn't want anything else. So I wrote much of this during the pandemic, and early on, my father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and so he is this recurring figure, and kind of set the theme for the book. He also lived on the other side of the country, so the kind of distance is also a common subject. Pancreas, a gland, like a sponge secreting fluids to regulate blood sugar, to break down. Common ailments include inflammation, pancreatitis, and cancer, abdominal pain, weight loss, jaundice. It's possible to live without one, my father says on the phone, a dryness in his mouth, his tongue sticking as he tells me what to expect if he's lucky. And all day, everything, no matter how small, makes me think of it, hidden deep inside me, weeping. The bee crawling in blossoms scattered on the glass tabletop, the sound of a pitcher filling slowly with water. This next poem is in 3 sections, and the first section takes place at a poetry reading, so I just feel compelled to read it. What's funny about it is the person reading in the poem was Alison Bennis White, who's one of my absolute favorite poets, and I forgot to tell her, we're friends, I forgot to tell her she was in the poem, and so she was reading the book, she says, and she came upon this line of her own, and she's had the oddest feeling. Anyway, so the first section takes place at a poetry reading, and I should say that the third section is an ekphrastic poem, so a reflection on a painting. It's titled, Forgiven, after Rembrandt's The Return of the Prodigal Son. When the shoulders of the man sitting in front of me are the width of your shoulders, the slouch your slouch, I think this time to lean into the sting of your leaving, the way you, long dead now, once leaned over a sink, the smell of shaving cream, your own face in the mirror, a speck of blood spreading in white foam. We sat there for nearly an hour, me and not you, and the poet on stage who said, a snow globe shaken relives the same shatter. Years later, I can not want you and not want you to have left. I held your waist, and we rocked slowly under our studio's one window, which glowed with the morning paper we taped there so neighbors couldn't see. News of storms hitting the coast that summer, news of war. One night you stormed off at dinner, shaking your head, your fists. You had your own ghosts. You, who'd held a spoon of ice cream, cold and sweet, to my mouth, singing, "Open up, softly." Forgiveness was the moral of the story, and the master's depiction, which has been said to bring those who come upon it to tears. One man kneeling, his shorn head pressed into the other's robes. In the painting, the young man's clothes are tattered. His shoe has fallen off, his bare foot exposed. The light spills on both men from an open door, somewhere beyond our view, which the one who has only now, after so many years, come through. I always tell my students that, poems, you can find poems anywhere, just about anywhere. In the grocery store, walking the dog. This one came to me watching my son at a swim practice. And the funny thing, you guys know this because you're all poets, but the funny thing is, isn't it amazing that you don't have the language yet, but you know you're experiencing the poem, and then the writing is just finding the language and the sequence of words and the syntax, all of that, to translate it to the page. This one's called "My Son Wants to Know Who His Biological Father Is." My son wants to know his name. What does he look like? What does he like? My son swims 4 days a week. When my son swims underwater, he glides between strokes. When he glides underwater, he is an arrow aimed at a wall. 4 days a week, his coach says, "Count. 1, 2. Before coming up for air." My father had blue eyes, blonde hair, though mine are brown. My father could not speak Spanish and wondered, how can you love another man? We rarely touched. When my son is counting, I count with him. I say, I am your father too. 1, 2. I'm going to read 3 more. The last 2 are quite short, so it's not as long as it might seem. I don't read this one. I don't read this one very often, and I thought I was actually going to be brave and read all these poems that I never read, and then I chickened out. But this one is one I almost never read. So this is just the one act of bravery, tonight. It's called "In the Book We Are Reading Together." In the book we are reading together, the father dies before the first sentence. Namdi didn't want to look at his body in the casket. We pass it back and forth, taking turns, our heads casting shadows onto the page. Early on, the father returns from the dead as a shadow in the street. Is it really him? When they speak, we speak the way we imagined they'd sound, angry or sad. Sometimes I get to be the son, and you're the dad. Sometimes you sound the letters out until a word reveals itself new. You stare off as if you know how the book will come together. You look at my face as if you can see the sounds it makes. Sometimes you grow bored and want to stop. Sometimes you wonder if the father is gone for good. You yawn. It's getting late. We are coming to the last page, and I nod along. Soon we'll see where the story has taken us. Sometimes you want a story to last forever, and sometimes you just want to know how it ends. Two more poems. First is the title poem, Rara Avis. And this one was inspired by a story I had read about an Egyptian tomb that had been discovered, and in it were countless mummified birds, falcons. And I couldn't stop thinking about that and wrote this poem. Rara Avis. A falcon, one of millions raised for sacrifice. An X-ray reveals the bird untombed, wrapped in linen, wings pressed the length of its ghostly body. Force-fed mice, sparrows, it couldn't expel the bones, the claws, and died having eaten too much, the stomach packed, feather and fur, tail descending the throat. One of many, bred to brave the dark with its king, beyond appetite, nothing left to crave, thus heavenly, saved. And I'll end on this little poem. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm excited to listen to the next poets. A theory on happiness. Driving along the coast in a convertible, the sea behind them, one will make a vow, for better or worse. Will I be happy? He asks, guiding the car along the cliff's edge. And the friend, who is somewhat older, says, yes, you will be happy, but you will not know it. Thank you.
Those poems were so beautiful, Blas. Thank you. Next, we have James Fujinami Moore, whose debut poetry collection is Indecent Hours from Four-Way Books in 2022, which was the winner of the 2023 GLCA New Writers Award in Poetry and the 2024 AAAS Outstanding Achievement Book Award in Poetry, and a finalist for multiple other awards, including the Lambda Literary Award in Bisexual Poetry. His work has appeared or is forthcoming in the Academy of American Poets, Poem a Day, Boston Review, the Brooklyn Rail, and many other places. And he has received fellowships from Poets House, Bread Loaf, and the Frost Place, and received his MFA from Hunter College in 2016. James.
Hi. Thank you so much for being here. I can't see anyone. Yeah, it's really an honor to be reading with all of these poets whose work I love and I think is so extraordinary. I'm just going to read one poem. It's a relatively new poem. in that I wrote it within the past couple of years. It's a long poem, so, and it's numbered. So each line starts with a number. Numbers go sequentially from 1, you know the rest, and it's 88 lines. So I have like anxiety sometimes when readings happen and I don't know what's going to happen, so I feel like it's polite to tell you what's going to happen. Notes on the new year. 1. It is the new year as we count it. 2. Paper rabbits wink from each window. 3. Firecrackers rattle their blessings. 4. A man walks into a ballroom with a gun. 5. A man in the Washington Post asks if there are too many Asians. 6. The ballroom is in Monterey Park, where my grandparents used to live. 7. Both of my grandparents were previously dead. 8. In the new year, we light fireworks to scare off the evil spirits. 9. In one story, a monster comes to eat the villagers on New Year's Eve. 10. He was always quick to anger, says his ex-wife. 11. The monster is named Neon. 12. Every New Year's Eve, the villagers flee to the mountains to avoid being eaten. 13. Until they learn to burn bamboo. 14. 11 people die in the Star Ballroom. 15. The owner, their students. 16. Immigrants, retirees. 17. Joyful aunt, youthful dancer. 18. The owner who tried to make it stop. 19. When you burn bamboo, it makes a loud cracking sound. 20. It is the new year, the year of the water rabbit. 21. The year of the water rabbit means hope. 22. The sound of cracking scared off the monster. 23. This is why we now set off fireworks. 24. I can no longer distinguish the sound of fireworks from guns. 25. Still. 26. After the Star Ballroom, a man walks into another ballroom holding a gun. 27. The Lilly Ballroom. 28. Which means come, come. 29. What you should know is that Monterey Park is 65.1% Asian American. 29. 30. In college, I decided to learn how to dance. 31. I didn't know how to walk. 32. My body fit badly, my body. 33. My slouch apologizing for my height. 34. I was 10 when the school shooting time began. 35. An active shooter drill is very much like an earthquake drill. 36. Except no one tells you when it stops. 37. Nowadays, the best advice for surviving an earthquake is no longer to hide underneath your desk. 38. The advice for surviving a shooting remains unchanged. 39. Stay low, stay quiet. 40. Don't confront the shooter if you can. 41. In Monterey Park, a man confronts a man holding a gun. 42. In situations like this, according to experts, most outcomes are determined by luck. 43. In Chinese, the number 4 is unlucky because it sounds like death. 44. Death, death. 45. According to recent surveys, Asian American gun ownership has risen by record numbers. 46, mostly in response to hate crimes. 47, for what it's worth, what happened in Monterey Park was not a hate crime, although it felt like it. 48, according to experts, the number 8 is lucky. 49, for what it's worth, the man who walks into the ballroom looks like me. 50. What should I feel instead? 51. One New Year, my cousin shows me the guns he keeps in the trunk of his car. 52. Just in case, he says. 53, my cousin was responsible about his guns, I think. 54, revolver, shotgun, Glock. 55, after college, I walk into a ballroom to learn how to dance. 56, swing, foxtrot, waltz. 57, in some dances, you look at your partner. 58, in some, you turn your head. 59, the teacher has soft hands and looks like me. 60, sometimes there are moments that happen without thinking. 61, sometimes there's a gap between what I know and what I believe. 62, for what it's worth, I've always wanted to own a gun, but haven't. 63, 2 out of 3 gun deaths are self-inflicted. 64, the man who walks into a ballroom shoots himself in his van. 65, he is 72 years old. 66, my grandfather lived in Monterey Park and died 12 years ago. 67, which is one full turn of the zodiac as we count it. 68, the man who confronted the shooter survived. 69, afterwards he said it was the first time he'd ever seen a real gun. 70, after my grandfather died, we went to the temple to burn incense. 71, incense, the priest tells us, is what the dead have instead of food. 72, still we pile food on the altars of the dead. 73, grapefruit, orange, bowl of rice. 74, my grandma, she just went there to have fun. 75, after my grandfather died, we went to the temple after certain intervals of time. 76, 100 days, a year, 6 years, 12. 77, the soul, the priest tells us, is like a cup of water evaporating. 78, the dead, the priest tells us, come back to us like rain. 79, I want to believe him. 80, it is the new year as we count it. 81, the year of the water rabbit, which means hope. 82, already there are fireworks. 83, already there has been so much rain. 84, in the new year, I light incense. 85, in the new year, I try to believe. 86, last week I walked into a ballroom to learn how to dance. 87, frame, step, I turn my face. 88, luck, luck. Thank you.
I loved that poem, James. It was amazing. Our last reader of the night is Austen Leah Rose, who is the author of Once This Forest Belonged to a Storm, winner of the Juniper Prize for Poetry. She holds a PhD from the University of Southern California and received an MFA in poetry from Columbia University. Her poems have appeared in the Sewanee Review, the Iowa Review, Narrative, and many other places. She is currently a Dornsife Fellow at the University of Southern California, where she teaches poetry. Austen.
Thank you so much, Liz, for including me tonight. Thank you all for coming. I can't see any of you. And I'm so moved by all the poems that I've heard tonight. This has been really special. I'm going to be reading a couple of poems from my book, Once This Forest Belonged to a Storm. It came out 2 years ago. To me, it feels like it came out 100 years ago. I feel so far away from it. I don't think I've opened the book in 2 years. So this is the first time, and I didn't practice before this, so this is the first time I'm opening the book again. So I'm going to start with a poem. It's on page 37. This poem is called In Defense of Daytime. I told my husband I was going out. I didn't say where. The car was parked under a tree in a halo of dust and leaves. Above, birds. I put the key in the ignition. I liked the car. I liked how contained it was. I liked that it had its own temperature, its own code of conduct. Buckle your seatbelt. Adjust the mirrors. The car makes the world look like lava. Slow moving, rising up to meet you, and then falling back into the earth. I was out in the afternoon, but I had the feeling of being behind the afternoon, like an underground aquifer, something I'd tapped into which represented the flip side of things, like when light comes into the room at a slant and you realize the person you're talking to is lying. Like that. Everything released from the prison of its preconception. I drove to a shop that sold soaps. I walked down the street. The day had stilled, the way tears gather in a person's eyes but do not fall. I got to thinking about water. I have a friend who laughs whenever she's in water. There's something you should know about me, she said. I always laugh when I'm in water. I got to thinking about unconditional love. Unconditional is another way of saying no questions asked, and when I can't ask questions, I get angry. Last week, I slammed a door in my husband's face. You're just like your father, my husband said. There were people drinking wine on the street. There was a breeze coming in from the west. Maybe I was in a foreign country. Maybe I was in Greece. Maybe I'd been traveling for months on a journey to find myself. Maybe I had my own apartment with a window that opens out onto the ocean, where the light pours onto my face each morning, like in a Renaissance painting, in which a woman is silently reading a letter. It was still afternoon. I wasn't in a hurry. The other night, I dreamt I was in an airplane and the engine stopped, but the airplane floated safely down to earth and landed on an island. It was a dream that could have been bad, but ended up good. That was the point. I drove to the lake. The lake was surrounded by a chain-link fence. Through the fence, I could see mountains. I had recently read about a composer who could only write 1 minute of music or an opera, nothing in between. The sky was pink and blue, and the palm trees were black, and the lights coming on in the houses were like the sound of broken glass. In the park, someone had planted native California plants, which calmed my anxiety. It was the feeling of everything being in its proper place. On the drive home, a full moon rose in the sky's throat, like an unholy thought, preventing the earth from speaking. And now I'm going to go backwards in the book to a little bit earlier. The book is somewhat chronological and begins in childhood, so here's one of the earlier childhood poems. It's called Getting Ready. There was a time when memory was theory, before we knew the shapes of constellations or 15 tips for maintaining a relationship, before weather patterns, before meaning, when my sister used to call me to her room while she got dressed. I would sit down on her bed, next to her latest boyfriend, with hands tucked under my legs and eyes like two dark holes widening inside my head. Sometimes I find myself in places and I don't know how I got there. Together we would watch as she took off her shirt, her naked body bright and buzzing, like something that would shock you if you touched it. Sometimes I don't know where to look when I'm at a crowded party. I remember I could feel his gaze. I could see it tossed across the room like a ream of paper. Sometimes dreaming is a lot like watching television. On which side of that secret did I stand? Was I my sister? Was I him? Who did my eyes belong to? Sometimes I can convince myself of anything. Okay, this one's on page 59. Eek. Oh my gosh, wow, I'm just realizing, are the table of contents wrong in this book? Oh wait, no, 63, okay. This one's called Creation Myth. In the beginning, there was only darkness. Not the dark of the prairie at night, fireflies nestled like hot pearls in the grass. More like the sense of something approaching, weaving a black basket in the sky. Days came and went without epiphany. Then the world began to materialize. It was like coming down out of the clouds in an airplane, miles of snow-scented wheat, white-tailed deer, and wild turkey. The people had a feeling that somewhere their lives were already lived. They heard a narrator in the cornfield, a voice like a flashlight, in the barn of the future. Okay, and one last one from the book. This one's called Meeting Shakespeare. I wrote it while I was taking a class on Shakespeare and having this very intimate encounter, I felt, with William Shakespeare. And I wrote the poem, but then once I finished the poem, I realized I had kind of conflated Shakespeare with my professor, with my professor, Mark Strand, who was... Wow. Who was a mentor to me and really such a meaningful person, and not even realizing what I'm saying while I'm saying it. But he, so his influence, his voice has influenced me so much in my writing and in this book, and I feel that I'm only now starting to break away from that influence. But anyway, none of this is important to the poem at all. The poem is called Meeting Shakespeare. I met Shakespeare in a hotel room downtown. There was a lamp on by the bed, and the radio was playing. Shakespeare was wearing a gold watch and a velvet sash. It was clear he had a taste for beautiful things. He sat in a chair and let me talk, and I told him about television and strip malls, how I have the same blue eyes as my mother. Why do we inherit what hurts us? I asked, but he didn't answer. I went to the bathroom. I looked in the mirror. I imagined what it would be like to be a woman living 400 years in the future who was imagining what it would be like to be a woman living 400 years in the past. I washed my hands. I re-entered the room. Outside, the night was a bucket with a hole in the bottom. The darkness kept spilling out. Shakespeare, I said. Sometimes when I'm sad, I don't feel anything at all. He put his hand on my shoulder. He was a tactful man. Very good, he said, and was gone. So now I'm going to read a couple new poems that are different than the old poems. The first poem is, the title is from a painting by the painter Matthew Wong, and the title of the painting is Going, Going, Gone. Gossip and grocery lists, packets of flower seeds, and popular children's names. Rothko's Blue Divided by Blue, and also The Great Blue Heron. Your books, stacked neatly on the floor. Do you recall that November afternoon? You wore a gray wool coat. I wore boots so worn the soles were coming loose. We stopped in a bar for beer and peanuts. What did we talk about? No more air oxidizing apples on our kitchen counter. At last, the word elegy will be meaningless. Think of the year before I got pregnant. We lived in a rented house on the edge of a forest, watched the deer glide, unfazed, in the rain, waited all winter for magnolias. Twice I read the book about whether or not to become a mother, although it was more of a philosophical treatise on the nature of decision-making. We caught spiders in a glass jar by the bed, decided yes. Once, nursing him at noon, sunlight like a long silver needle, I saw him become a child, teenager, grown man, then gone, all of it, in a millisecond. And I've been writing these little poems, these little desire poems. So I'll read the first one here, which is called Desire Number 1. Hopefully someday we'll have a different title, but right now it's Desire Number 1. Everywhere I look, people are holding hands or slow dancing to the next song on the jukebox or laughing in each other's laps in a red vinyl booth. Women who like women, women who like men who on occasion also like women. Glint of a silver piercing, lagoon green nails, a cigarette, basket of hot French fries. Standing around in circles under the orb of an orange streetlight, quoting famous poets, not knowing if the quotes are accurate, not caring. And in a parking lot, a bowl of free persimmons with a sign that says, "Take them." And to my dear friend Sam, who has known me for over a decade, since before I was a mother, I say, maybe if I had a threesome, I wouldn't need another baby. I don't know. I think language is a parallel universe and has little to do with what it describes. And the moon is that thing that can't be said, that you wish could be said but can't be, and it follows you all the way home. And this is the last poem I'll read. Its title is a line from Roland Barthes' Lover's Discourse. And that line is, "To try to write love is to confront the muck of language." Outside my window, a maple tree's brute silence. I think of Monday, when you and I sat across the table in the cool new restaurant, turmeric chicken, smashed olives, a glass of orange wine. I could have asked you then, outright, if you wanted me. But you are real, and you know what I think about reality, how unequally it corresponds to the magnitude of my want. I consider Rilke, who would stare for hours at things to try to see beyond them, into their other side, where some secret might expose itself through language. I keep trying it, but it never works. Sky stays sky, grass, grass. As we leave the restaurant, a real wind blows your bangs across your face, and we cross the street to find our cars parked exactly where we left them. The next morning, I wake alone, convinced I'm pregnant again. But it was only a dream. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that beautiful reading, Austen, and thank you to all of our readers tonight. Please, thank you all for coming, and please come buy their books and hang out. Yeah, thank you. Thank you to Quentin, Jimmy, the whole Beyond Baroque team. We couldn't do this without you, so thank you all.